All right, boys and girls, I don't think that we have kicked this dead horse quite enough just yet. So let's revisit the topic of engine oil for the Generation 3 EcoDiesel once again. This is like take 19, I think, right? So anyway, you've probably noticed by now, it's been a couple of years. There is an ongoing debate out there about which engine oil you should use in the Gen 3 EcoDiesel. The Wrangler, the Gladiator, the Ram 1500, they've all got the same engine. They've all got the same oil specification. And the question has just been, first of all, why did they go away from the Rotella T6, which was the go-to oil, at least in the latter years of the Gen 2 engine. It was the go-to oil, and it seems like every other diesel engine out there on the market in a light-duty pickup truck or SUV can use that Rotella T6, with the possible exception of that new GM 3-liter Duramax. I think it has a weird oil spec also. But anyway, they changed the oil spec, as you know. It is now an MS material standard 12991, which is an API category SN engine oil, 5W40 viscosity, full synthetic. Previously, this oil was used in turbocharged gas engines and maybe a few other gasoline engines. So it was kind of weird and confusing when FCA decided to use that spec for this diesel engine. And to this day, there are still some diesel mechanics and technicians out there who still feel like an SN rated oil is not really good for the diesel engine long term, but that's extremely debatable. I'm not going to get into that. For your warranty coverage, you need to stick with what's in the manual. So anyway, the purpose of this video is that I wanted to show you the results from my most recent oil analysis using this oil. Now this is the Quaker State Ultimate Durability Full Synthetic 5W40. Got this off the shelf at Walmart. I confirmed just last week that they still sell this oil right off the shelf at my local Walmart. It's a 5-quart jug. It's $18.97, which means, obviously, you do the math, that's well below $4 a quart for this engine oil, which is the least expensive engine oil you're going to find for the Gen 3 engine. Right here on the back of the bottle, it has MS 12991. So there's no debate that this is a spec'd oil that you can use in your Generation 3 EcoDiesel. And like I said, it's the least expensive one that you're going to find. Now, some people are leery about using the least expensive oil that they can find, but I've been running this all summer in the Gladiator EcoDiesel and through the fall. You guys have seen that I have used that truck like a truck. We've towed really heavy with it at maximum capacity. The truck's been off-road on some trails to recover my ATV when I buried it in the mud. I've driven it in cold weather. I've driven it in really hot weather, interstate, city driving, lots of idling. Everything that you can put a diesel engine in a Jeep through, I've put that engine through running this oil right here. And I'm getting ready in just a moment to show you the results from the oil analysis on it. And we're going to go over that. It's going to surprise you, I think. But this is a extremely inexpensive oil that you can buy right off the shelf at Walmart. So no more complaining about it's hard to find oil for this thing, or it's really expensive to buy oil for this thing. No, it's not anymore. Now it's super easy to find oil for it, and it's also extremely affordable. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got something like this. This is the Modal X Clean 8100. It doesn't have the 12991 spec on the bottle, but if you go to their website, it does list it in their documentation. So, you know, if you were going to run this oil, you could just go to their website, print off the documentation that clearly shows the oil spec, and keep that in your glove box, and you would never have a warranty issue. Arguably, this is the best oil you can buy for the EcoDiesel. It's, like I said, spec'd for that engine. It's a really good base stock. They use the latest and greatest base for their oils, and it also has a really low SAPS content. I'm thinking this is rated at like 0.8% SAPS, which is one of the lower ones you're going to find that has that Chrysler spec on it that you need. So if you're concerned about the longevity of your diesel emissions system, this is going to be a really clean oil that you can run to keep your diesel particulate filter and EGR and all that fancy stuff clean long term. But the drawback is it's expensive. This jug right here, and of course it's measured in liters because it's European, but roughly 5 quarts, and this is running about $45 for a jug of this on Amazon right now. Sometimes you can find it on sale. I've seen it more than $45 though. So you're looking, you're gonna have to buy 2 jugs to do a full oil change. So you're looking at $90 just for this oil, enough of it to do a full oil change. And then you'll have 1 quart left over for top off throughout that oil cycle. So it's quite a bit more expensive, over double the cost of the Quaker State oil. But like I said, it's arguably the best oil that you can find. So, you know, you can run the spectrum there. The reason I wanted to show you these two is because the modal is on the other end of the spectrum. It's a luxury oil, some people call it. Really expensive oil, but supposedly it's the best of the best. I've been running that oil in the past when I had the Ram EcoDiesel, and you may have seen some of the oil analysis I did on the modal, and I didn't see numbers that were any better as far as the wear metals in the oil, the viscosity numbers at the end of an oil cycle, that kind of thing. It didn't really impress me. I personally don't feel like it's worth spending the money on modal or AMSOIL or any of those other boutique oils. You're just throwing money away because they're not going to protect your engine any better. I will argue that point with anybody, any time of the day, any day of the week, because I've seen it myself in engines that have been torn down after using these oils. I've seen it in lots of different oil analysis that people have posted and shared online. You start looking at all the data and there's no advantage to running a 9 or 10 dollar per quart oil over running something like this. But anyway, those are your options, and without further ado, I'm going to show you how this oil recently performed in my EcoDiesel, and it was very surprising actually. All right, so what we're looking at here first is the oil analysis from the factory fill oil, which I changed, man, I can't remember the exact mileage. I want to say it was somewhere around 4,200 miles. It was between 4,000 and 5,000 miles. I went ahead and changed the oil a little bit early, you know, because it was the very first one. I wanted to get the break-in material and stuff out of the engine. So you can see there, iron at 33. You go across your other metals, chromium and nickel, very low. Aluminum was at 8, which is in the green category according to this lab, which is good to go. 17 on the copper. You can see the other ones. Silicon was a little bit high at 40, but they indicated in the notes up here that it wasn't a big deal because it was a new engine, so you kind of expect that. Your anti-wear package over here, you can see some pretty high numbers there, so that was looking decent. Viscosity at 12.6. Now on this first oil cycle, I don't know, I can't confirm the exact oil they use at the factory. It's been rumored that it's Pennzoil Platinum 5W40, but I can't confirm that. But you can see the numbers there. Now after the over 6,000 miles of hard use on the Quaker State oil, towing really heavy. You have to remember that at one point we were towing that giant trailer to the land between the lakes. It was a hot day and the coolant temperature went up into the 240 range, remember? And with the engine running that hot, it really decreased the life of the engine oil, and so that's what they're flagging over here. The base number was down to a 4.22 at the end of, I think this was 6,300 miles, so the base number is starting to get low, which indicates that the additive package in the oil is starting to get used up, and it did need to be changed. And that was, again, because in the Jeep, it runs pretty hot when you're towing at maximum capacity. If you have the Ram pickup, the engine will run a little cooler when you're towing, and so this base number would be higher than this. But still, at 6,300 miles, you're getting close to needing to change this oil anyway. They didn't color code any of these metals, but you can see iron was at 37. It was at 33 on the factory fill at the end of that cycle. And your other metals there you can see are pretty low as well. Remember, the copper was 17. In this sample it was 10. So copper went down. Remember, the silicon was at 40, and in this sample it's down to 18. So the oil looks great. The viscosity at the end of the first cycle was at 12.6, this time 12.4, looking fantastic. So even though I really worked the Jeep hard on this oil cycle, and I went a little bit farther, a couple thousand miles farther, the oil is still showing great results. The viscosity looks good, all the metals look good. So you can see the additive package over here, magnesium and calcium, phosphorus numbers are still pretty high. Zinc is at 1,006 at the end of the first cycle and 998, so that's about the same. But the bottom line is, when you look over these numbers, and I'll freeze right here in case you want to pause the video, but these numbers look really good. So the Pennzoil, if that's what the factory fill actually is, appears to be a pretty good oil, but the Quaker State oil, which also is very similar to the Pennzoil, by the way, both of those brands are under the same company umbrella. Some people believe they may even be the same oil, but the Quaker State oil looks awesome. It's doing a great job of protecting the engine in the worst conditions you can imagine. So if you're somebody who just daily drives your Jeep, this would be a fantastic oil. Yeah, so I mean, if you can buy an oil for $3.70 some odd cents per quart right off the shelf at your local Walmart, and it's going to do an excellent job of protecting your diesel engine, why wouldn't you? You know, so that just goes to show you that you don't have to spend a lot of money when it comes to engine oil to get a good product. So buyer beware when you see all that advertising and you know, all the people trying to push certain oils and certain products online, you know, claiming that it's going to be somehow magically better for your Jeep or for your Ram. You need to take that information with a grain of salt, because I just showed you that the cheaper Quaker State oil is pretty good stuff. Guys, I hope that videos like this are somewhat helpful to you and you know, somewhat beneficial to you. If you like things like this, let me know. If you don't really care about engine oil analysis and all that kind of stuff, heck, you can comment below with that information too. But I appreciate you guys watching, and it's another warm December day out here, so I'm going to get outside and do some work around the property now. Hey, you guys have a happy new year, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.